What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about British public school. Because as an American, I really have no idea what the school experience is like in Britain. So today, I want to learn about all the differences between our public school systems. And honestly, I'm very curious about this topic. So, with that being said, let's take a look.
But some of you students in the US get confused with the differences, as there are some key differences from each territory.
Okay.
One difference is the grading system. The Brit and American grading system can be a bit confusing. So allow me to briefly explain what it is.
The grading system. What do we mean by the grading system? Like your scores, like A, B, C, D's? Or like, maybe we're talking about the actual grade levels, I think.
So your school journey starts at the age of 3. And at age 3 to 4, you go to nursery in both the US and the UK.
Okay, perfect. So we're literally we're literally starting at the very beginning here, which is absolutely that's the level of detail I think I need. So we're 3 or 4 years old. We're going to like nursery school or something. So yes, seems like that's the same in both here in America and Britain. Okay.
Age 4 to 5 in the US, you go to preschool, but in the UK, you go to reception. Yes, why the fuck would us Brits call preschool reception?
Yeah, exactly. It's called reception. Preschool. Yeah. Most American children go to preschool. They're saying at around 4 or 5 years old. You have something like this in Britain, but it's called reception? Reception. That makes me think of like church or like a wedding reception. Where did that word come from? So in Britain, you don't even use the word preschool. Is that right?
But that shit ain't my fault. Go ask the motherfucker that invented it. Anyways, in 5 to 6, you're at kindergarten. But here in the UK, you're in year 1. So from year 1 to year 6, you feel it's primary school in the UK. However...
Wait. This is like surprisingly difficult for me to follow. So in America, you start kindergarten, which is like kind of your first real big boy or big girl experience like in school. You're in kindergarten. Sort of your first real experience with American public school. But in Britain, it's not called kindergarten. You still have it. It's your first year in school, basically. So you call it grade 1. Maybe that makes sense in a way. Because it is like the first year or the first grade that you're in a proper school. I don't really know why we call it kindergarten here. Wait a minute. If in Britain you call it grade 1 and we don't enter first grade until the year after kindergarten, which means your grade 2 would be our first grade? We're like, for the entire public school experience, we're like at different grade levels, or at least the number. You're like Britain's grade 3 is our second grade? Is that right? Because we call it kindergarten, then first grade, second grade. But you just jump into grade 1. I never realized that. That's actually pretty significant.
In the US, from 1st grade to 5th grade, you finish elementary or primary school.
Yeah.
And you might be asking, why don't we have both UK?
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, but just look at this chart. Oh my God. Look at this chart for a second. I need this chart because I don't understand what's happening. American, we have kindergarten. Yeah. And then in the British system, you have year 1. Look at that. Or grade 1, right? Okay.
UK and US grading systems in the same years. Why is the UK a grade above? Because instead of your US motherfuckers naming age 5 to 6 first grade, you're really
Exactly. That's exactly. I'm glad that they're touching on this. That's exactly what I noticed. We're always like off by a grade level. What?
Decided to name it kindergarten. Like, why? Makes no sense. Anyway,
To be fair, I didn't understand the reception thing in the British system. I totally understand where British people would not understand us naming it kindergarten. I don't know where that comes from. It's such a common, like, normal term here in America. I've never really thought about it. But now that I am, it doesn't really make sense. I'll admit that.
it's after you finish primary school. In the US, you start middle school and you're in 6th grade at this time. Then you
Right.
finish middle school after 8th grade. After that, you start high school in 9th grade or freshman year.
Yeah.
And finish and graduate high school
Yeah.
after the 12th grade or senior year.
Yes.
And if you want to go to college, you use your GPA or you take the SAT. To briefly explain what a GPA and SAT are for my audience not from the US,
You're right. So, right now he's explaining the American system where you start in elementary school, then middle school, then high school, and then you take a test called the SAT, which gives you a score. And then you also have something called a GPA, grade point average, which is a way of basically measuring how well you did in all of your classes during high school. And these two metrics are used to help universities and college determine if they want to accept you or not. Yes.
GPA means grade point average. It can be calculated on a yearly basis or for your whole course as a whole. All your assignments, tests, work you've done is all added up and calculated throughout the year to get a grade point. And the SAT
SAT. The SAT. We call it the SAT. Very, 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 very famous, important exam that happens while you're finishing high school. Very stressful. It really can determine a lot about your future. It's kind of crazy. Your grade point average is determined over the course of your 4 years in high school, so that's a little more fair. I think the SAT is just stressful and cruel. So the way we're talking about this, it leads me to believe that in Britain you don't have a GPA, a grade point average. You don't have an SAT test. So what do you have? You must have something else instead, right?
is a test or an exam taken to go to college, pretty much. Get it? Capiche? Obrigado. In the UK, you start secondary school in year 7 and you finish secondary school all the way up to year 11. Yes, I don't know why we call it years, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather call it years than grade. Why would
So do you call it grade 7 or year 7? Or now I'm a bit confused because I think I've heard both. Grade 9, or is it year 9? I don't actually know what British people prefer to say. And it also sounds like the years that you're in, gosh, what do you even call it? You don't even call it middle school, do you?
school in year 7 and you finish secondary school. Obrigado. In the UK, you start secondary school in year
Secondary school. Secondary school. Is that like middle school? Kind of in between elementary school and high school? Or you do call it high school, right? I have to admit, I don't know for sure.
year 7 and you finish secondary school all the way up to year 11. Yes, I don't know
Wow.
why we call it years, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather call it years than grade. Why would you call it grade? Why would you call a whole thing that you mark your test with a whole year? Just call it
Oh wow, when he puts it like that, it's so obvious how wrong we are for our vocabulary, our naming conventions here. We said this is from grade 7 to grade 11? That's 4 years. You're in secondary school for 4 years? And this is kind of equivalent to our American middle school, which is 3 years. So that's different too.
Call it year, stop calling it grade. That's some bozo ass shit. But anyways, in year 11, you take your final exam you've been preparing for since year 7. That's almost 4 years. These exams are called GCSEs or
GCSE. This isn't even high school yet, is that right? This is not even high school. Why are you taking these big exams just for like grade 11?
GCSEs. After you finish that, you go to further education for the course you have chosen to do in year 11. For example, courses like history, art, languages, religious studies, computer science, whatever. Further education in the UK is called sixth form or college.
No, I've got it wrong. Oh my gosh. Now I see what I've been saying is wrong. Okay, good. Let's pull up the chart here for a second. Let's slow down for a moment. So, lower school? I'm getting confused with what secondary school is. I thought that was in between middle school and high school, but I don't even see high school here on this chart. Do you not call it high school in Britain? That's what confused me. I thought secondary school was the middle, but you have something called middle school from year 2 to year 4? And then what is upper school? We didn't even talk about any of this. I think that's why I got so confused here. We like jumped from reception to secondary school. Basic. So in Britain, you have middle school, which is 3 years, just like in America. Then you have something called upper school, year 5 and 6. And then secondary school, which I thought would be called high school. Okay. I mean, is this the proper naming convention in Britain? Because I am completely and utterly confused, as you can tell. Okay, that's okay though.
And you're in year 12 and 13 or junior and senior years there. Then you...
Oh, that also makes sense why you take that exam, that big exam in grade 11. That, you know what else confuses me? We call it 12th grade, whereas you're in like year 11 or it's off by a year. And okay, I think I kind of understand, but I gotta be honest, I'm still a little confused.
You finish school and choose whether you want to go to higher education like university or not. In the UK, we have half terms or calendar terms, and in the US, they call them terms semesters.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys...
Oh, you call it terms, and we call it semesters. Why are there all these weird little differences? I swear, these strange little differences make it all the more confusing. I wonder how that stuff even happens. Because, we speak the same language. We speak English in America and Britain, but sometimes it's like some of the words that we use have the strangest little differences.
Watch another school video, you won't be confused if a UK YouTuber or US YouTuber is talking about it, and you will know exactly what they're talking about in proportion to the countries.
I don't know about that. I still feel like I'd be pretty confused if a British person were talking about school.
Thank me later. Anyways, we're going to be talking about middle and high school and secondary school in particular. The students in the US have the freedom to wear their own clothes. However, in the UK, we have to wear school uniforms. And hell, school uniforms are taken very seriously over here in the UK.
Wow. I mean, this has to be possibly the biggest difference. I don't know, there's a lot of differences. I didn't even realize how many differences there are between American and British school. But this one is huge. This blows my mind. This would absolutely just confuse and just baffle most American school children. Because we take it for granted that we can wear whatever we want in school. You get to choose what you wear. And yes, that can lead to some problems, but we really, I don't know, we take for granted that opportunity to express our individuality and our own personal style. And if they tried to make you wear a uniform in American public school, I mean, there'd be riots. Like, it would just not work. Kids are so used to just wearing whatever we want. I never even thought about it as something special. But learning that in Britain, it's just normal to wear a uniform What do British people think about that? It's really hard to think about it from the opposite point of view, because in Britain you're probably so used to it, you're so accustomed to this that being able to wear your own clothing would seem a bit strange, I imagine. Whereas here it'd be strange to wear a uniform. Wow. They do look nice, like they are cool in a way. And I guess everyone kind of doesn't have any sort of pressure to like focus on their appearance or like I don't know, live up to certain fashion standards. Like that doesn't even exist. That's a big, big, big part of American public school experience. Is your fashion and what you wear and your appearance. Probably we probably focus on it too much, to be honest. So it's actually maybe a good thing in Britain that you have uniform. I could see it being a good thing, kind of relieving that pressure. That's really interesting, actually.
Okay, if you miss any school uniform, like your blazer, don't button up your high collar, loose tie, sag your trousers, or bring anything that's not black school shoes, prepare to get crucified by the teacher.
Oh my
and to
God.
be honest, I'm not even mad that you can't even wear your own clothes in English schools, because it's a hassle to choose the best clothes, and you don't want to be the guy that is known for wearing the same clothes over and over again.
So this narrator is saying like, it's a hassle to pick your clothing. So I imagine having a uniform does make it very, very easy. Couldn't be more easy. I think there's pros and cons to both, actually.
It's just long. Plus, my closet is so mid, so I would rather wear a school uniform. It's easy to pick out and wear, and no one can judge you because they are wearing the same thing. It's a win-win.
Wow, I mean, the uniforms are so nice. Like, you have a tie and like a blazer, a jacket, a vest, a button-up shirt. Is this the standard uniform for British schools? Like, this is nice. We don't dress this nice in America. I really don't know what I think about it. It's so different to American school, but I gotta say, it looks really nice. Like, it probably teaches you discipline. Like, you gotta... How many uniforms do you have at home? Do you have to wash it every night? Obviously, you have to take care of the uniform. It's a nice piece of clothing. A lot of kids in American public school just show up kind of like whatever in our wrinkled t-shirt. Definitely not me, for sure. No, definitely not talking about me. No.
It's cool that some of y'all can be wearing your own clothes, but tell me why some of you guys wear the most silliest garbage to school. Like, motherfuckers be wearing pajamas, skirts, maid outfits, suits with shorts, or some shit. And the emo girls and the city girls are literally a different story. I can't even lie to you. That's for a whole other video. And
it's just kind of, it's a part of American public school. Like, people wear weird stuff. There are dress codes. You can't show up naked or half naked, or it depends on what school you go to, honestly. But and you can't have certain words or messages on your shirts, or like there's certain rules to what you can wear. Don't get me wrong. But compared to Britain, it's like chaos, I think now. Now I think of it.
The shoes y'all be wearing should be a sin in the 10 Commandments or some shit. Like, how y'all unironically go into your closets, pick and wear some trash and think it was a good idea to go to school. Like, y'all definitely need your parents to start dressing y'all again or something. But these are some of the people.
Now that I see Americans in what we wear, when I see British school children, like, that looks much more orderly, much more proper and nice. There's something to it. I don't know.
People are stretching you. Obviously, some of y'all kind of dress relatively well. In the UK, if some motherfuckers misbehaving or straight up being a menace in class or outside of class, there are levels to the punishment depending on their offense.
Oh.
Level 1, you get a warning. Level 2, they scream their lungs out of you. Level 3, you get a detention. Level 4, you get something called isolation. The real
Isolation? We're talking about punishments in British school. Yeah, I mean, there's some formal punishment systems in America. It's very, very similar, actually. You get yelled at, you get in trouble, you can get sent to the principal's office where they talk to you and tell you how bad you are, and you can get detention, and then you get suspended, where you get sent home, or in school suspension where you have to like stay at school alone in a room and do work. Maybe that's kind of what this isolation is. Maybe isolation, is that what they called it?
3, you get a detention. Level 4, you get something called isolation.
Isolation just sounds more scary. We have in-school suspension. Maybe it's kind of similar?
The real rebels and the menaces that have no regard to life go in these isolation. To briefly explain what isolation is, it's basically a discipline where you get removed out of class and go to a certain booth room where it's just yourself, your work, and teachers watching your every move.
Oh my God. I, like a good little American child, I never got in-school suspension. I did go to detention once, but that's where it's a group of kids after school. You have to sit in a room. Like, it's very boring, and then you just go home. It's not that big a deal. But this, in Britain, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by this scary face on the screen. I don't know what this is. if that's who is watching you in British isolation, this is terrifying. You sit in a little stall or a little pod against a wall. That's a little more intense. It sounds more intense in Britain, actually.
Seeing if you're doing work or not. Just think of it as in a prison where you're an inmate in your cell and guards are watching what you do. Then the final level is a suspension. In the US, it's the same thing pretty much.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they don't have isolation.
Yeah, what the heck? What is this isolation? Oh my God. We have 2 types of suspension. In-school suspension is when you're in the school having to do work alone. But not like this. Not quite like this. And then you're suspended or you're not allowed to come to school, which that sounds the same.
You get suspended and excluded depending on the offense. Apparently, physical punishments are legal in some states. That's kind of wild to me, I can't even lie. Like, imagine getting your ass beat because your dog ate your homework. I thought that only is...
I mean, I personally I have never heard of someone getting physically reprimanded or physically punished, like with being beaten with erasers or something. Stuff they did used to do back in the day in America, like, I don't know, 50 years ago. 50 years ago, probably. They would hit your knuckles with a ruler, or like spank you with a paddle, or all this weird stuff. That's totally not acceptable anymore. I've never seen that talked about or practiced in American public school. That would actually be against the law. You're physically like assaulting somebody's child. But they definitely used to do that back in the day in American public school, for sure. For sure. But not anymore. I think it's illegal. They're saying it's legal in certain states. I'd be pretty surprised. I'd be pretty surprised by that. Maybe they do it some states. I don't know. And I don't know about it. But I'd be surprised in this day and age. Or maybe they just don't talk about it. It's like, and it's against the law. I don't know.
It's listed in Africa because me personally, I went to school in Ghana. And if you misbehave in any way, just know that you're in for the whoopings of your life. I ain't gonna cap with you, Beth. It's gonna be absolutely long for you. In the UK, school lunches were decent. The canteen at least made somewhat of an effort to make the student meal nice and tight.
This is a UK school. Okay, school lunch. We're really touching on everything here today. School lunch. Wow. This looks, well, I don't really care for beans, like many Americans. Beans are not part of my diet, but the baked potato and what is that, like chicken or this looks good. In America, I hope he talks about American school lunches, because that is going to be funny, because they are notoriously unhealthy. I won't say bad, because I enjoyed the pizza rectangles that we got, and the French fries and hash browns and ice cream. But it's not good for you in American public school. Not good for you.
digestible. Students in the UK would always look forward to a school lunch. Like as soon as the class finished, these motherfuckers would leave the class and sprint straight out of class to the canteen just to be in the canteen line early. Because if you were lost, your favorite food would have run down and you would have to settle for the garbage. Like these motherfuckers would sprint to the cafeteria with speed on Power Sonic or this motherfucker. In the US, from what I've seen, school lunches is some of the worst foods I've ever seen served to students in history. I mean, look at this. This shouldn't be.
Well, it depends on where you go to school, how nice your public school is or your area is. Like, I never got this. Like, shredded cheese on a bun. Come on.
Allowed of any sort. Whose idea was it to be serving this garbage? The school chefs are serving this. They must really despise their jobs and despise the students there. Like, what the hell is this? What?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I feel like that's the American me coping. I don't know. I think it was okay. It was definitely, our food is very, very, very unhealthy. No debating that.
Is it? I can't lie, I feel sorry for you guys in the US, because if they did this foolishness in the UK, I would personally deport myself back to Africa, because at least they made some good and ready cooked meals.
Wow.
Then when you finally finish school after years, been about damn time. In the US, you graduate high school. There's a ceremony to commemorate the work you did in high school. The seniors will receive their high school diplomas, and the class president will give out a graduation speech. But from what I've seen, some of these speeches are one of the most awkward but funniest pieces of non-fiction I've ever watched.
Okay, so, in America, you graduate high school, you go to a graduation ceremony, you all wear a cap and a gown. Someone gives an awkward speech. It's great, yeah.
Imagine if the types of students like the depressed kid or the menace kid had a graduation speech. Like, motherfucker, I will pay to watch that shit, man. Motherfuckers did crazy shit in this ceremony, as well as like, how do you have the balls to do this? Graduation also...
Okay, not... You can basically do what you want. Some people do during the graduation ceremony, I've seen people do some funny things during American graduation, like even rip off their gown and being in their underwear, or jump on someone's shoulders, or do a little dance, or as long as it's within reason. Some of that stuff is not, but as long as it's within reason, you can be a little silly. It's socially acceptable to be a little silly at your graduation because it is a celebration. What is it like in Britain? I really wonder now.
Also includes gift and the best of all, the grad parties. Did y'all ever go to grad parties? Let me know down in the comments down below. Compared to the UK, when we finished year 11, aka 10th grade, and our GCSE, we basically finished secondary school and we have an assembly of awards for the students who did their best stuff like subjects, good behavior, who did the most work, ECT, and then a final thank you and goodbye, some wholesome stuff. After the assembly, we celebrate after the school signing the shirts.
You sign each other's shirts? Is this all standard, like in the UK? This is interesting. These traditions are a bit different. You have like a assembly, you recognize different people's accomplishments. That's nice. That's kind of like our graduation. You sign each other's shirts. I have never heard of that before. That's kind of cool, actually. And that's it. There's no like cap and gown and diploma, like a formal ceremony like that? Or really?
Boards and pens, writing heartwarming messages like good luck and stuff. Like, I can't even lie, this was one of the most wholesome stuff I've ever done as a celebration of finishing school.
Nice.
And of course, the best thing about finishing secondary school was prom. Prom was definitely my favorite part of finishing it. The party happened at night. The parties were like rave.
Yeah. So there's prom. Both. I didn't know that for sure. There's prom in Britain and America. Okay, good to know.
The DJs were playing classic house songs. Everyone ate and danced. It was too late. Unfortunately, I did not have a prom date, but I still took these cool photos of the girls. Oh, I'm just that guy, G. Too much risk. You know that?
Okay. And I think with that, that's good. That's a good place to stop. This was really interesting. It was kind of a funny video, I gotta say, but I enjoyed it. Kind of informal, and it went into some detail about British public school that I have never heard before. This was really quite interesting. This video was by Jenskally. I gotta give it a like, because it was funny, and is pretty cool. There's actually a lot more difference between American and British public school than I ever thought. Like, a lot of differences, actually. Too many to name, even. I'm still thinking about that isolation room. Signing shirts and grade 1 or year 1, and there's a lot of differences. This was actually pretty eye-opening for me. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the differences between British and American public school, or if there was anything I didn't understand, which I am pretty sure there was a lot. Feel free to clarify or correct me on anything. I'm sure I made a mistake somewhere in here, but that's fine. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and British culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.